This is a caucus of the Jersey City Municipal Council. Today is Monday, October 23rd, in the year 2017. We had a 5:30 p.m. start. It's 5:41 p.m. Present at roll call. I have to learn how to shut this off. Councilperson Gajewski?
Yep.
Gadsden?
Yeah.
Lagiano?
Yeah.
Yun?
Yeah.
Osborne?
She's inside.
She's in her office. She's doing it.
Robinson?
Here.
Rivera? Waterman? Lavaro?
Here.
Okay, Council President, please take it away.
If we just have a moment of silence for the soldiers in Niger who lost their lives in action. Thank you. Okay, we'll get this caucus going. Not on the agenda, we have at the request of Councilman Boggiano, representatives from Liberty Humane Society were asked to join us, and so we're going to let them off the hook and get them up first. What's the purpose of this visit?
Just to update the council on our new operations. As the council is aware, again, my name is Andy Siegel. I'm president of the Liberty Humane Society. I've been president for 6 years. We want to take this opportunity to come in under our new municipal agreement, which we took over in May for animal control, which in addition goes along with our animal welfare agreement with the city. We enjoy the opportunity to come in and review with you the operations, the agreement, and give you an update. With that, here's my executive director, Irene. Pardon?
No, it's actually been our logo since the founding of the organization.
Yes, it's.
So, yeah.
You need a T-shirt, clearly.
As long as everyone gets a T-shirt. Apologies, yeah. Next time I'll bring T-shirts. So just for some background, Councilman Boggiano had raised some questions about the different kinds of animal control versus animal sheltering operations that we perform as an organization. And so I wanted to take a moment to recap. We have two separate agreements with the City of Jersey City. So in background, Liberty Humane Society, and you have this in front of you, is a nonprofit animal welfare organization whose mission is to foster a community of compassion and respect and provide animals in need with a chance at a lifelong loving home. In that vein, we run an animal shelter and we raise private funds to pay for programs and help local people and pets. We are not a governmental agency, but we do contract with municipalities to provide animal control and sheltering services as required per state law. Under state law, New Jersey requires every municipality to have both animal sheltering services. Yes?
Just get your name, I'm so sorry, I didn't get it before.
Of course. Irene.
Irene.
Last name Borngraber. It's B as in boy, O-R-N-G-R-A-E-B-E-R.
You got A in spelling.
It's that last A-E that kills you, right? So we are, we contract with municipalities to assume that state mandate. So New Jersey says that every municipality in the state of New Jersey has to have both an animal sheltering provider to house stray animals found within its boundaries, as well as an animal control provider. And that's the mechanism that you use to triage animal services, to pick up stray animals, and to provide emergency medical care for stray animals. All of these regulations are only for stray animals, which means animals that do not have an identifiable owner. Animals that could be off the property of their owner, but this is not for members of the public public who, say, are requesting assistance with an owned animal. That is still the responsibility of the person who owns that pet. So those are the services that we're contracted to provide with by the city of Jersey City. Until May of this year, Jersey City had operated its own internal division of animal control. Liberty Humane has run the shelter on behalf of Jersey City on a contractual agreement since 2004, but we had not been providing animal control services until this year. That structure was very challenging for the health department and the city to run. Based on the way that civil service law is structured, it's very difficult to compel 24 hours a day, 7-day-a-week service. And so they put out an RFP, LHS responded, and we won the bid. So if you'd like to review a copy of that bid package, which was approved by this body back in April of this year, I do have a copy of it for you. I have one if you'd like to review, and this outlines all of the terms and the nitty-gritty of the service offerings.
And it should be in one of your booklets. Let me give you the resolution.
So we are currently operating off of 2 different contractual agreements for Jersey City. We also offer animal control and sheltering to the city of Hoboken, and we provided services to Bayonne in the past as well. So Jersey City isn't our only client, but you're certainly our biggest one. So what Jersey City's contract with Liberty Humane Society includes, and this is both of our contractual agreements distilled into one, is 7 days of animal sheltering, feeding, and general care for stray pets per state law. This is the minimum requirement. So Jersey City pays us to care for, feed, and house animals that are found in Jersey City for 7 days. Transportation and emergency medical care for gravely injured or sick animals. These are animals whose owners are unknown, who were hit by cars or suffering from other types of distress. A 24/7 hotline for animal-related concerns. 24/7 dispatch of an animal response team member, that's what we call our animal control officers, for animal-related emergencies. And a website and call center with resources and general animal questions. We're also now providing investigative services and prosecution for animal cruelty, neglect, and municipal animal violations. Since the beginning of this agreement in May, LHS's ART officers have responded to 2,448 calls for service. That's 216 on average per month and 20 per day. And you have some statistics in the back that outlines the types of those calls. Note that general complaints, as referenced in the second column, that's the global category for people who are just calling about an issue related to animals that are not outlined directly in those statistics. A full description of the ART protocols and dispatches are found on our website, which you also have in the third attachment. This is all public documents that are on LHS's website. We are now the clearinghouse for all animal-related information. So please, if you ever have any constituents who have questions or concerns, or you're wondering what services are provided at which times, this is the go-to. There are also a lot of FAQs that are translated both in English and Spanish that are available for download in dealing with specific issues like nuisance animal complaints, wildlife complaints, feral cat issues, basically every issue that we've stumbled upon in our constituent database, we've aggregated and tried to put on the website to get the information out there. What LHS's contract with Jersey City does not include. So there are some things, and the reason that we are a nonprofit organization who contracts is that what the city pays us to run an animal shelter doesn't actually cover the total cost of care. So we pay for housing, feeding, medication, spay, neuter, and adoption services for animals who stay with us beyond the 7-day period. We don't just say 7 days, that's all the city pays for, you're done. We keep the animals until we can find them a suitable placement or an adoptive home. For dogs, that takes an average of 28 days. For cats, it's 35. So the additional funding that we raise as a nonprofit organization goes to subsidize that providing care. It also goes to provide for building or equipment repairs or maintenance and improvement. We are in a very old facility that was never meant to be a long-term animal shelter. It is falling to bits. We have to raise, on top of our annual operating, all the money needed for improvements and repairs to that facility. It doesn't also pay for public services, including surrender of owned animals, people seeking help and subsidies for assistance with their own animals, spay, neuter, training, or education, or TNR, trap, neuter, and release of outdoor cats, which is a best practice. It also doesn't cover public veterinary clinic or pet health services. So Councilman Vogiano had some questions specifically about TNR, so I wanted to briefly address some of the global challenges that we're facing here. Outdoor cats are one of the biggest issues facing municipalities and animal control providers across the entire state and the nation. This is not an isolated Jersey City issue. We are overrun with cats, yes. Union City is overrun with cats, so is Bayonne, so is Hoboken, so is Monmouth County in New Jersey, and we have a resource desert when it comes to animal services. LHS is the only nonprofit animal shelter in all of Hudson County. So if you think about that for a moment, there are 8 different municipalities in Hudson County, 8 major municipalities. We only serve 2 of them. So there is an incredible void in terms of resources. There is no state or federal funding available for animal services. Most nonprofits and social service agencies tap into larger pots of money. They can go to the state, they can go to the federal government, and they can get CDBG grants, CSBG grants, all kinds of trickle-down money from the government. That doesn't exist for animal welfare. There are an estimated 1.3 to 2 million free-roaming cats in New Jersey and 80 million in the United States. Again, we are not alone in this issue. New Jersey has a specific shortage of commercial veterinary providers. There is no veterinary training school in New Jersey. It is incredibly expensive to own a veterinary practice because of malpractice insurance, property taxes, business insurance. The incentive for vets is to go and work in New York. They don't get licensed here. They go to New York and they make more money. If they are operating a practice here, chances are they can't afford to subsidize the cost of services to make them affordable and accessible to the community. There is only one low-cost public veterinary provider in all of northern New Jersey. Again, not just Hudson County, not just Essex County, not Passaic. There's only one. It's in Hillside, and it's People for Animals. The demand for subsidized spay-neuter far exceeds North Jersey's of infrastructure and available funding. Again, we are dealing with a really systemic issue. And we're not going to solve New Jersey's or Jersey City's TNR issues today, but I just thought it was important to highlight that we have a major systemic issue, and municipalities across the country are struggling to figure out how to provide affordable spay-neuter as well as other veterinary services to outdoor cats and the people who care about them. So LHS is doing some things to address the gap between municipal funding and the public need. So we partner with nonprofits who are outside of our area, who are not local Jersey City-based nonprofits, to assist in providing care for Jersey City's animals. We work with organizations out of New York. We work with People for Animals. We work with Best Friends in the ASPCA and other national organizations because we don't have any local animal welfare organizations here who are providing resources to local pets. We fundraise approximately $400,000 annually to subsidize our human and operational service programming. We work with the health department to prioritize service needs in response to animal control issues, and we raise capital funds to improve and enhance our existing facilities so we can do more for the people in need. So on that note, I just also wanted to briefly share some very positive next steps because I feel this was a bit of a downer. We do have the funding that we have raised entirely through private contributions for a major kennel renovation and expansion that would allow us to meet state requirements at our existing facility. We've raised $165,000 towards this through national partnerships and private funding, and we just got our variance approved by the planning board about a month ago. So we are very excited for this next and much needed step to expand our property. And we are working on a larger scale plan down the line to create a public animal service hub, a real complex that would enable us to bring low-cost spay-neuter among other veterinary services to Jersey City. Because until we address the underlying resource desert issues that we have here, not only in Jersey City, but in the county, we're never going to be able to address the systemic issues involving cat and overpopulation. So on that note, does anyone have any questions either about this or about anything related to animal control?
I'm not going to go through the whole thing now. But you're saying that the county doesn't contribute any money towards this?
The county does not, no.
That's a disgrace. That's an out-and-out disgrace, number one. No, it is.
I agree.
Yeah. And secondly, the city of Jersey City should be doing a lot more for the animals in the city. You know, one other thing I really, sending people out of Jersey City to go to Hillside to have their cats neutered is a shame, and that's one of the reasons I called you. Mm-hmm. Also, when you walk in with a dog that you pick up off the streets, you shouldn't have to, go back outside and call an animal control agent. I mean, that's a lot of baloney. When I walked in there, I told them who I am, and, and they didn't want to know nothing. And they said, you have to call an animal control agent. Meanwhile, the animal control agent was right in the back.
So the
Who
reason that
happen
we
to know?
do that is because our calls to animal control are recorded, and we want to verify that the person calling in the animal has the animal in their possession, and we're able to track that call effectively in our database. So the shelter and animal control, even though we're under the same organization, it's two different staffing structures with two different skill sets. So an animal that enters us through via animal control gets reported to the health department in a way that's different from the shelter animal, which is why we have that policy in place.
Comment, there's no way they can get CDBG money? Why?
CDBG money is for individuals, low moderate income individuals. There could be some other federal subsidies, and some other programs that, help to look and see and share information, but for CDBG, it's LMI.
Look, I'm an animal lover, and, I see cats all over the place, I see a lot of stray dogs now, and something has to be done. I used to walk the animals down in the animal shelter till they had the problem with the city worker here. But you have to be funded more, the animals have to be treated, not your fault, but the animals, I don't like them in those small cages. And so I hope to God we can sit down with the county maybe, and maybe the state and the city here, and do more and get these problems corrected.
So the mayor, Stacy just wanted me to reference that we have attempted to enter into discussions to create a county facility and to provide services for the entire county. However, and the mayor did reach out to Tom DeGeese at the time to ask if he was interested in engaging in that way. He was, but he had indicated that that would be up to the majority of the mayors of each municipality to choose to go that route. So,
Sure, if the county executive said, this is what we're doing, it would be done. I mean, let's bring back Mayor Hague then, put him up in the county.
Can I?
we'd love to engage in that conversation if that's something you'd like to be a part of.
I mean, I'm going to call Tommy DeGeese tomorrow. I mean, that's a shame.
We'll share with you the letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, can
I'd like to see it.
Mayors across the county.
I have a simple question. Thank you for your great job with under this, under funding, but we have not only animal control to just a cat and dog, but another part of wild animals problem we have now. How are you going to be handled? You got nothing to do with your organization?
We do. So for animal control, we divide it into two categories. It's injured or sick. Any animal that's injured or sick, unless it's a mouse or a rat, would be a call to animal control. An injured possum, an injured raccoon, a sick possum, a sick raccoon, a sick skunk. Where we don't get involved, and where we do, I did say the stinky word, or those animals that are behaving normally, but the public finds to be unpleasant. That is where we attempt to mitigate, and we follow the state best practices when it comes to wildlife. So let's say a raccoon digging through garbage, or a skunk going through a backyard. The skunk and the raccoon have a right to be there. What we need to do as individuals who are living in urban environments is to adapt, and what they're saying is mitigate. So put lids on the garbage cans, make it unpleasant for them to be by, and they won't be there.
So, just want to make clear. When they...
Is that my cue?
Animal control, control by a Health and Human Service. We have a lot of problems, skunk, lamprons, you name it,
Yes.
wild. Every time we call, they say animal control department, nothing to do with that wild animal. So really, they don't bother things, okay?
Oh, I would say, so there is one centralized number now for all animal control, including nuisance control complaints. So I think the best practice would be just to call animal control directly. Don't call the health department. Call us and speak to one of our officers.
Health and Human Service. Actually, we invited, what's the name, the guy, Paul.
Yes.
Yeah, when he say he make very clear, wild animal got nothing to do with animal control, that's their own problem as a homeowners.
So sick and injured wild animals are an animal control issue because it is a public health issue. We don't know why the animal is sick. We want to establish if there is a disease problem, and we want to make sure that animals who are injured receive treatment. And that includes wild animals. What it doesn't include is is nuisance animals or animals who are otherwise healthy, who are just in public spaces.
Okay, so now we know that animal control under the health and the LHS, they're going to care about their wild animal too. That's number
We
one.
do.
If
Sick and
only have a
injured.
sick, all right, good.
But if you have a doubt or a question about that, that is laid out in the second or third handout, which is on our website as well for the public, that says when you should call animal control for very common, and that's one of them.
Number two, we find that a lot of dead animals on the Jersey City Heights. When we call that, the response from the LHS is dead animal is not our issue. You got to call DPW to pick up.
That is correct.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that.
Yeah,
okay,
that
good.
is correct. And that's also on that sheet, and the number for DPW dispatch is there as well.
So now that we brought up skunks, I have to say something, because every time we talk about skunks, I have to say something. Is there any data around spay neuter for cats increasing the population of skunks? Because as in my neighborhood, it feels to me like we used to have a lot of stray cats in Paulus-Hook. Now we don't, but we have a bunch of skunks. And I'm just wondering, is there a relationship? Are they natural predators or?
There's no correlation that I can think of, except it could be a feeding issue. Skunks eat cat food. A lot of wild animals eat cat food. And that's part of what we need to work on public education is appropriate feeding, because it's perfectly appropriate for people to feed outdoor cats. We want them to also spay and neuter. But at the same time, they need to be taking in the food after the cats eat to make sure that they're not attracting other predators. Because a lot of what we're seeing in these areas is we're seeing wildlife that are getting closer and closer to people's backyards because they're leaving some kind of food. It's not always cat food. Sometimes it's garbage. But, there are issues. I can say anecdotally, so skunks eat slugs, and they eat other small rodents. They are scavengers. And we have had an increase in rodent populations in Jersey City. So there may have been an increase in the food source for the skunks. Yes. Yes. So,
Explanation then.
To force them to.
Can you give me a copy of
as for statistics, though, I'd have to reach out to this. The state really manages wildlife populations. So I really look to them for direction as to how we respond to these questions of, is this population stable? Is this population too much, too little? Are we?
Feels more.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put on the record, there are more skunks in Paulus-Hook now than there used to be 10 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask this one now. What number we have to call? 201-547-4888?
All the time, 24/7.
24/7?
Yes.
That's the way the response for the animal response, not only
Yes.
cat and the dog, also wild animal too.
Everything related to animal control.
So 24 hours 7, right?
It's answered by our dispatch, our officers from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's answered by a call service that dispatches for emergencies at all other times. So they will always have someone answer the phone.
3 times. My son's dog, my dog, and my other dog got skunked more than 3 times. And I'll tell you something, the cats and the dogs in my backyard hang around together.
I have the magic deskunking liquid. See me after if you need the recipe.
I'm going to get back to you on the county.
Yeah.
This has to be solved because the animals, it's not your fault. The animals have to be taken care of, all right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Eileen.
Director Flanagan and Ms. Anderson are up.
Showtime.
Which is your item?
Resolution T.
10T. Okay, 10T, folks. All right. It's a resolution authorizing a professional services agreement with the law firm of Chasen, Lamparello. No? That's 10T.
10T, shared service, public health region.
Oh,
That's
maybe it's a
regional.
mislabel in the packet. Oh, must be.
Local public health workforce to reduce FTEs.
Oh, do I have the wrong one? I have the wrong agenda. Shoot.
It's a resolution accepting the grant award and execution of interlocal shared services agreement with the New Jersey Department of Health and Hudson Regional Health Commission to strengthen the local public health workforce to reduce STDs.
Oh, okay. Good evening. My name is Inez Anderson, and I am a senior analyst out of the Department of Health and Human Services. I would like to give a brief introduction of the grant between the New Jersey Department of Health and Hudson Regional Health Commission in the amount of $47,791 to offset staff salaries. This grant is to be administered to our health department for the Division of Disease Prevention. This funding was provided to support our highly trained personnel, disease intervention specialists, in the workforce mentorship program with newly transferred employees in our preventive medicine clinic. The program's goal is to reduce the incidence of communicable diseases through investigation and surveillance. There will be 5 program evaluation reports due to the state ending June 5, 2018. This is the first grant of this type. I am looking for Jersey City to be the grant model and hope with excellent feedback and outcome that this grant has the potential of renewal. If you have any questions? If not, thank you for your time.
Let's go, we've got the 10, I'm sorry. Now I'm confused. Carmen, you were up. Oh, there it is, 10P. 10P. Carmen's hand up.
So 10P is the resolution authorizing the submission of the CSBG grant. I will say that this resolution is the projected amount of what the state is anticipating to award the city. The handout that Margaret is providing are the CSBG recipients for this fiscal year. I apologize for not getting to this to you guys sooner, but given the climate and the delays at the national level this year, both CDBG and CSBG were delayed in funding, and so I believe the state had contacted the office September 15th that we needed to turn all this in just to even start the contract process by October 16th, and so this is where we're at. To review the CSBG recommendations, most grantees were awarded funding. If they were not awarded or recommended funding, it was that they did not meet the threshold or there was some outstanding audit compliance. There were 2 organizations that overlapped with the public service recommendation this year, which was item number 1 in the spreadsheet and item number 15. Both, and you'll see in the comment sections in regards to who was being funded and what was the recommendation amount. So at this point, I don't know if you have any questions. Again, the CSBG grant is to service those to ameliorate poverty, and so it's really working with our low-income individuals within the city.
Never. Nope, yes, I do have a question. So, Boys and Girls Club is not recommended to get any. I see the explanation, some unresolved. Are they aware of that? Are y'all talking and everything else?
It's going to be handled by the law department in my office.
Okay.
Yep. Joanne. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Carmen? Hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Gandula. Let's bring our tax assessor up, Mr. Ed Tolosa.
Good evening. I'm here for resolution 10Y.
10Y.
X and Y.
1 is actually being withdrawn. The one for this fiscal year, which requires only a claim. Yeah. The gentleman signed it on the back, I had a conversation with a nice young lady in Ed's office today, and I told the gentleman, I said, if you can get here from Bridgewater and put your signature on it, we can still get it on the meeting tomorrow night. He said, well, I don't know if I can do that. I said, I'm sure you can come to Bucolic, Jersey City to get $32,000.
We'll wait till November.
So he said, we can wait. I said, well, you're doing well then.
Yeah. So 10X is off the agenda.
No 10X.
Which one? 10X or?
X is withdrawn.
X is withdrawn.
Why?
So why? Mr. Tolosa?
Microsystem provides a support system with our office. All the changes made into information on a particular property, including block lot ownerships, assessments, and provides also reports on whatever we requested. Every year they send out these assessment notices. They, from their facility or from their office, they mail this out to every taxpayer in the city. Every year they've been providing this software kind of service to us. This year it would come up to $32,000.
Questions for Mr. Tolosa regarding this resolution?
This past couple of weeks, people are saying, you know, the appeal, people doing the tax appeal come around to the house. Now, if they don't get in, they put down for everybody, finished basement, 3 bathrooms, okay? And people don't get back to them and let them in, supposedly, you know, this is what they're gonna keep. Well, I'm telling the city that there's gonna be lawsuits over this, and that is not right. They can't put down for everybody a finished basement, 3 bathrooms. And this is wrong what they're doing.
I believe there's information on the card, where they leave the notice, that they can call them if they want to schedule an appointment. They can schedule the appointment to have it,
Yeah, basically the data that they would put on that notice is some kind of an identical to a property or comparable property that they have access to. Say, for instance, a comparable property contains, say, a basement. If they are denied access to the next property, the likelihood is that, oh, well, it's almost similar, so there is an additional basement in here. Now, that's why it is imperative to the property owner to give access to the inspector.
The older houses, most of the houses are stone in the basement. They're, you know, this is wrong what they're doing. And, you know, and that's the common thing that's going on. Finished basement, 3 bathrooms. And I'm just saying to the city that when they come along with this revow, there's going to be a lot of hell to pay for those, you know, because people don't want them in their houses, you know, and they have every right to keep them out.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, like, for instance, even if they come to the point where they informally file an appeal on the numbers that's given by the appraisal company, the appraisal company would still require access to the property to give a knowledgeable kind of perspective or opinion as to the value of the property. The same is true, say, if on the informal level they still don't agree with the number, they can file at the county level.
okay.
The process is informal, and then they could go to the county Board of Taxation if still not satisfied with the informal appeal.
So now, so
Yeah,
when we're going to receive that?
You're talking about 70% complete.
70%, then when people are going to receive their letter from the repair company?
They have scheduled approximately towards the tail end of November. That will go all the way to December and probably January.
Just a notice.
Right. The notices that would go out would have the data about what is the market value or assessed value of the property. And if they think that they are aggrieved or they think that's over assessed or valued, they could call the appraisal company and seek an informal, what you call an informal appeal.
There'll be sessions probably held here
Yes.
throughout the city, so the residents can come and meet
Inform
with,
them, educate them.
meet with the reval company to double check the data, make sure it's accurate, how they came up with their numbers.
See, I don't know what's they will do like a different district, like even Heights or downtown Greenville. They should hold at least 4.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
multiple sessions.
Yes, please.
Just as we've done with the information sessions throughout the entire city.
In August of next year.
That's correct. The impact, whether positive or negative, would be reflected on the owner's third and fourth quarter bill of 2018. Third and fourth quarter of 2018.
First and second quarter bills of next year mirror the third and fourth quarter of this year.
That assumes everything remains on schedule as,
Right.
although I'm hearing otherwise, but.
It's going to be reflected still in August of next year.
The assessments will be filed, assuming everything gets done, will be filed with the county probably no later than the spring.
Right.
After the appeals are heard at these information sessions. The book will then get filed,
It's September 4th, it's the third and fourth quarter.
but the tax bills will be next year's third and fourth quarter tax bills. It's after the, September, yes, after we adopt the budget next year.
What the owners would receive, say, the beginning of next year, the January or February, depending on the time involved, would indicate the assessed value equals to market value. So people won't be surprised or shocked. They got a 20,000 assessed value now, and now they're coming up with 100,000. So assessed value for 2018 equates to 100% of market value.
So if it reflects in the third and fourth quarter, and you're seeing an increase in your assessment, but also an increase in your taxes, which not necessarily will happen, everybody's going to see an increase in their assessment.
That's right.
But if you should see an increase in your taxes, is that prorated over the third and fourth quarter for the year, or is it all going back to the first quarter and then you're just getting a big bill in the third and fourth?
Statutorily, the billing process is always half of the year, which is first and second, is 1/2 of your prior year's bill. Okay? Now, every year we adopt a budget, and then on that budget we have an amount to be raised through taxation. So for argument's sake, now this is the budget now and this is the rate. So your assessed value, which is basically market value, times the tax rate, say you, for argument's sake, you come up with 10,000. So 10,000 minus what was billed on your first and second quarter. So the balance then is split between your third and fourth quarter. Same thing, moving forward, that 10,000 is split half and becomes your, the 5,000 becomes your first and second quarter of 2019.
So your amount, I'm just trying to figure this, if your amount that you could have been taxed from the previous year in the first and second quarter was making us up $10,000, right? And then after all of the assessments are in and you've appealed everything, and the third and fourth quarter, it's determined that you're at 20,000, your tax bill is 20,000, right? Then, since you paid for the first and second quarter, 5,000 of a $10,000 tax bill, now you owe 15,000?
Yes.
That's rough. Yeah.
Is there a way of spreading out just the first year? Because I think like downtown, some of those, you know, if the home is paying, with all due respect, it's not going to go from 10 to 20, it might go from 12 to 40.
The problem, Councilwoman, is if we have adopt a budget that says we need to collect $200 million in taxes.
Yep.
and all of a sudden you try and give relief for the third or fourth quarter to maybe say downtown. When you get to the end of the year, we will not have collected our $200 million. We come up with a shortage. We won't have enough money to continue government operations. We have to collect our $200 million for the 12-month period.
Okay, anything else?
That's it. No, thank you.
Thank you for the great news.
Thanks.
I would say that the only other thing we can do is try to increase revenue somewhere else.
That's right.
Offset the tax collection portion.
Just for next year?
Yep.
Yeah,
One-time revenue, sir.
one-time revenues, yeah. Or abatement revenues or whatever.
That's terrible. Andrew, you're up. Hi, Andrew. Who let the dogs out indeed? We're starting with 3B with Andrew, 3B and 3C.
Everyone, 3B is an ordinance establishing no parking for certain portions of the day for 3 different locations. 953 Garfield Avenue, which is the Care with Love Medical Adult Daycare. 209 3rd Street, which is the French Academy Elementary School. And 41 Tours Avenue, which is Primary Prep Elementary and Middle School. I met with the owners and principals of each of these, and I feel they all are very much warranted. Care with Love has a license of 150 people, and they have 4 buses and 2 minivans. This would just be designating 35 feet along Garfield Avenue as no parking. The French Academy has an enrollment of about 150 people, and they're anticipating 35% growth. And Primary Prep used to be St. Aidan's, as we know. Primary Prep has an enrollment that's basically already double what St. Aidan's was, and this ordinance would just basically be reinstituting what St. Aidan's used to have.
This is different wards. Is that your ward, Chris? Primary? Got Ward F. Got Ward E.
F, the Care with Love. I mean, this is what it looks like sitting behind them early in the morning. And if anyone knows Garfield Avenue, the traffic coming off the turnpike coming down Garfield Avenue, I actually sat there for about 12 minutes to get around because the cars wouldn't stop. Because they really couldn't see us coming, around that turn.
There's a crosswalk right there too, to very lane park. It's dangerous.
Any questions about these? Good.
Andrew, I have another one that you maybe should look into. PS 29, Rose and Claremont. I was going up Claremont about a week ago, and a bus was dropping the kids off right there in front of the door, and the traffic was backed up to Martin Luther King.
I made this request at a council meeting, maybe a caucus meeting as well, but to do an audit of all the schools at this point and see consistency across the board.
And the problem is the school board didn't build the schools with drop-off and pick-up in mind. They're not part of the design, and it should be a design feature in the building. So we have to correct that.
Councilman.
But I think we got to look back at that parking from 6 o'clock on Egie Avenue, because Empowerment Charter School, it's really a mess, and a lot of the residents are really feeling
Yeah, absolutely. That's what those things.
So if we can, we got to work with them, but they got to limit the time. Because 6 o'clock, man, it's real tough for that area with the funeral home, St. Mark's, Empowerment Charter, you have the temple. It's gonna be a mosque up the street. It's like real crazy.
It's the schools, you have to look where the schools are, you have to, because I told you on Seaview, and there's a major bus that comes around there, so somebody's gonna get hit.
Yeah.
Let's see that's happening.
We're definitely doing that. If there are no other questions, we can move on to my next item is 3C.
3C, folks. 3C, this is in Ward A.
This item just makes Title 39 applicable to Society Hill at Droyer's Point. it essentially just formalizes what is already happening now, which is, it's still a private area, but if they're called, parking enforcement and the police can come onto the property and, issue citations for traffic or parking regulations.
I should say, this is reactive enforcement, right? It's not proactive enforcement. So it has to be called in. So if folks come to you saying, why aren't they riding around and enforcing the parking violations and so forth?
That was
It's
not
not, yeah.
My next item is the resolution 10-0, authorizing the closing of Exchange Place for a Diwali event, beginning at 8 a.m. and ending at 10 p.m. We're requesting a waiver of the 8 a.m. start time. Yes, sir.
One?
That's my last one.
All right, did you speak to Joe Kuna today?
Today, I barely spoke to him.
The meeting we had here Friday with
Yes.
everybody? Well, guess what? A woman was hit by a car because there was no guardrail. Saturday. A woman was hit by a car, another accident.
Where?
No, we're trying to put up guard, on Newark Avenue by the cemetery.
The car jumped it
I don't know
jumped the
full
sidewalk?
story. I don't know if it was on the sidewalk or not. I was told a woman was hit.
All right, I'll get this.
I spoke to Joe today. That guardrail has to be put up. All right, Andrew?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Representing Joe Kuchar. He has a 10Q, 10R, and 10S.
Good evening, council. So it is 3 NJDOT grants, all for different applications. The first of which is the Bikeways, which is the Morris Canal Greenway. This is phase 3. So it's a multi-phase, which is always Paul Russo, supervising engineer, speaking on behalf of Joe Kuna. So it is a multi-phase project. It is part of the NJTPA. Also, it follows goals of the Jersey City Master Plan. It is approximately $660,000 we're asking for. Realistically, we're hoping to get around $500,000. It is 0.6 miles. Like I said, it is phase 3 of 14. This section is 0.6 miles. And it is also part of a bigger thing across all of New Jersey. So the whole thing will stretch 102 miles across North Jersey. This particular grant is for site preparation, earthwork, paving, intersection traffic control improvements, striping, furniture, bike stations, that type of thing. Also, this was, for the most part, put together by the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency, and then our department helped with the cost estimate and a couple other write-ups for the scope.
Questions here? I have a question, but more to the BA. I think it's not specifically about this grant, but we're ratifying the submission and then the subsequent execution, assuming we receive the award, correct?
We have not received it.
I know.
So
But
when we
this
receive
resolution authorizes it, if it should be accepted. It's like, it won't come back to us as a council to authorize the execution or the acceptance of the award.
It's not normally what we do.
I'm asking if that's what's happening here.
That's what the way it reads. But
Yep.
we can have, if we receive the grant, have it accepted by council as well. Just so everyone's aware of it's coming.
Right. I'm just wondering how many, we've done other ones like this.
I know it, prior, way back when, they used to do one resolution to apply and receive. That process changed a few years ago. What I would suggest that if we are fortunate to receive the grant, that we do come back to the council to accept it.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, your next item?
Right. The next item is application number 2 of 3. It's the SST, the Safe Streets to Transit. This project deals with Fairmont Avenue from Bergen to Summit. So this is about 0.4 miles. The EPA, along with community groups and neighborhood associations, did a walkability study, which generated a report that discussed the needs for a bunch of these improvements, which we included in the application to help. Again, this has to be within a 1-mile radius of transportation station. We thought this was extremely applicable because it is near multiple transportation stations. Number one, it's a bus route along Fairmont. Number two, it's a Journal Square path. It's also near Garfield Avenue light rail, and it connects a bunch of pedestrian sidewalks that are non-existent right now, which scores even higher for DOT applications if there's absolutely nothing in place, which is the case in a couple sections along this run. So we see this scoring really high. We asked for $531,000. We worked with planning, engineering, and the grant writers to come up with this. It includes sidewalks, intersection upgrades, bikeways, complete streets design, lighting improvements, along with many other improvements to help pedestrian and vehicular safety.
Questions here? Really, you are the one of the few our actual department senior officer make communication with the council person. Really appreciate it. So now another question is that the Beach Street in Height.
Beach Street, yeah.
Yeah, Beach Street. They do that the repaving last year.
Correct.
But still they're not painted the no parking drive yet. So can't you send somebody to do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, do some survey or do some research that area. So we have to be painted the no parking driveway.
We just did Mill Columbia today, so they will be back up in that area very shortly to stripe it, and I'll make sure that gets tacked on with the striping of Columbia.
Because as you know, we pay $45 each, the painting to the contract already.
Yep.
So if we paid, we should get the claim that did their job, okay?
Completely agree.
Beautiful.
I'll see
Thank
to
you.
it.
All right.
All right, so the third one is the big one, municipal aid. So this year we chose to do larger sections. This usually scores better and receives more funding. So this is the municipal aid, and it dealt with Washington Boulevard from 2nd to 14th and Central Avenue from 139 to Patterson Plank Road.
They're awful for your cars.
Washington Street is 10 off.
Yeah.
10R, this
Yeah.
is municipal aid, Washington Street and Central.
Essentially, they were 22 years old, their street paving.
Yep, yep.
It's about time. But this is what it is. So now, as I understand, they're going to spend almost $1.6 million repaving Central Avenue between 139th Street Highway to Patterson Plank Road. But this is a time because of Central Avenue is the first main street in Jersey to do streetscaping. In other words, a sidewalk done, chairs, light, the street light, all those done like 20-some years ago. But now, 20 years ago and today is a big difference.
Sure.
So if you see the downtown, any other place, Journal Square, they are beautiful, decorated, antique, light poles, and the street light, and the sidewalks quality is much, much better than that. Today, if you go Central Avenue sidewalk, probably one of the most dangerous sidewalk you can find in the city of Jersey City, because that the difference of that, the gaps between the curb and the sidewalk, when they possibly the funding is available for whole streetscaping, which include the street paving. There any way we can?
This is municipal aid, so it's not really a streetscaping application. We will look into that in the future, but for this application, it's more along the lines of just paving, also turning more to a complete street, because both Central and Washington Boulevard, we picked those locations, number one, because they were long stretches that were in dire need, that were 15 plus years for both of them since they've last been paved. And number two was because we wanted to incorporate complete streets aspects to both of these. And we figured with this money, if we're going to be repaving it, we're going to do it right, and we're going to incorporate some of those complete streets aspects.
My next question, when they do start program, all those things, include the streetscaping and so on. So what grant was it?
What grant was it?
That the Newark Avenue, when they put your new sidewalk.
Yeah, that was before my time. I'll look into it and.
Okay.
That's the Aura one?
Was it?
It was the Aura one?
Federal grant was, right? So when is the next federal grant we expected?
But I wouldn't be holding my breath for too much.
Waiting for that infrastructure money to be coming from Washington DC. Not Jersey City.
Call him, Mr. President.
He's your friend, right?
Wait till
Let's bring
federal
him
grant,
in
right?
so that Michael Young can ask him questions in the next caucus meeting.
Good. Send a postcard. Transparency, everybody can read what I did. Okay, so you gotta wait, okay. All right.
And another big thing with this was that we also try to incorporate to make sure we work with all the utilities. And a lot of stretches have utility upgrades coming, whether it's MUA or PSE&G, and we worked with all these utilities to make sure that when we do these improvements, they're not going to be tearing the street up right afterwards.
So together, Bob K, when is going to be put any capital improvement bond or any you have a plan?
Well, we wanted to wait until after the election, make sure the next council incurs and, would authorize the next round of debt. So I would say early in 18, you'll see an ordinance coming before you.
But if a council person wanted, instead of street paving, they wanted sidewalks, they could get that.
Put their recommendation into the engineering department.
Right, together, because, when you do the repaving, the done, and when you break the sidewalk, you're gonna have damage. But if we work together, you know what I'm saying? But this grade, when you expect it, 2018, but which months, anything like that for this one?
Yeah, typically, they were really late this year. I think they were in August of this year, they gave their awards, so it was a little bit later than normal.
We expect next year, maybe middle of the next year.
Correct, so,
Next is some, then we maybe put you some grant. Reason is there, you know what, when you put you the decorate street light in Central Avenue, that 20-some years ago, that's the only kind of a street decorate light available PSE&G.
Sure.
So when they just hit a little bit, they break right away. It's a really public hazard now. So if we're able to put you some grants plus capital input dollars, then we'll build some really main streets in Central Avenue.
Absolutely,
So
we'll look for grants that are applicable.
Thank you very much. Bob, don't
Absolutely.
forget, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, good, thank you.
What's our probability of success of these grants?
Municipal aid, I don't want to guarantee it, but it's very, very likely for municipal aid. They doubled the pot this year, so last year we received just over $1 million, so we're expecting and hoping to receive almost $2 million. For this grant, we put in $3.4 million, but we're truly actually hoping for at least $2 million. And the other two, both Safe Streets to Transit and the bike, we feel like we have very strong applications. But I don't think the likelihood is as good as the municipal aid. Still good.
Do all this work internally, or with our grant consultant?
We work with our grant consultant, and then we also work with the planning department as well.
Bob, can we get a report? I'd like a report on our grants consultant and just kind of where their number of applications, success rates, and all that stuff as we go into the next fiscal year. Andrew, one last thing. Can I bring you back for a second?
Yeah, of course.
On these, the street, these parking, the drop-offs, the school drop-off spots, can you also just check with DPW on the street cleaning and making sure that all syncs up there?
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of times and whatnot? Yeah,
No problem.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, let's see, we've got Steve Miller. Okay. No, I can never make her happy. 10N.
Before you get to that, we have the second reading ordinance, and if there's any questions on the one with the sweepers? I think we went over all the questions last time, but just in case. That's 4F.
10N.
Okay.
As in Nancy.
Right.
Okay, 10N is authorizing the City of Jersey City to enter into an indemnification agreement permitting the city to stockpile rock salt under the New Jersey Turnpike Authority's Newark Bay Hudson County extension at Mill Spot.
Milepost.
Milepost. It should say milepost. Thank you. Milepost North 6.8 to issue a certificate of insurance to the New Jersey Turnpike.
Any questions on this? No questions.
Okay.
All right, let's move to the next one, 10Z.
Z like the zebra, right?
Let's see.
This is a contract to award a contract to Winter Ford for the purchase and installation of box spreaders for DPW Division of Auto Maintenance. This is for the salt, right?
Yeah, this goes on the new trucks that we got. This is the piece that goes on the front to spread the salt.
Pretty expensive, $6,000 each.
Yeah. They are, it's a special item.
It's a really great box. It's the greatest box.
All right, next one is 10Z1.
Semco Building Service for janitorial services.
This is the renewal of the contract for the cleaning people in all the buildings.
For all of our buildings.
Yes, and this is the final year of the contract. So next year we'll have to go out to bid again for it.
Any questions on this? None. Next item, 10Z2.
Change order authorizing the increase in the amount of a contract with Northeast Auto and Truck Parts for parts and repairs and road maintenance equipment under state contract for the Department of Public Works.
This is again because of the increased vehicles that we took over from the incinerator authority that are old, large, heavy equipment and need more repairs. Hopefully when we get the new street sweepers, that'll eliminate some of the costs for repairs on the old street sweepers that comes under this. So that's the increase.
You're increasing it by 200,000.
JCRA.
April 2nd last year.
April 2nd last year, right?
3 months.
Okay.
We have that experience yet.
So they don't have the full year's experience yet, that's why. Okay.
Yeah, next year will be the first year when we have a good estimate on the whole year. And hopefully some of the sweepers will be replaced by then and that'll knock down some of this cost with this particular contract.
But you know that we have a maintenance contract for the street sweeper machine, right? Maintenance contract.
Yeah, this is for parts for them. This is actually the parts that we can't do in-house. So we have that.
No, was it? Then what is included?
I think that's just the general upkeep of them. This is actually when they need to physically replace things, the larger pieces. And also the other, heavy equipment that we have comes under this. So you get some, fire engine parts and some of the other big heavy equipment that, that we use for other things as well.
Okay,
That's it.
any questions? No? Thank you, Steve. Let us go from the top. And item 3A is being withdrawn. Kate from Planning is not available to speak tonight, so withdrawing it and bringing it back at the next meeting.
All right, so the only ordinance to speak about is an ordinance pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law and the mayor's executive order that requires the city to annually pay the Jersey City School District 10% of the revenue and the city receives from long-term tax rate tax abatements and will require an annual fee of 2.5% of the gross revenue to be paid to the public schools.
So, Corporation Council.
Nope, let's hold on. Where is our corporation?
No, actually, Join is the, yeah, Join knows, Join?
I'm sorry.
Restriction.
Yeah, I think we, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it's not quiet, you can see. Okay, just a very simple question is that if we see the title, ordinance president so-and-so, and the mayor flow 4517 excuse order that require the city to annually pay the Jersey Public School District 10% of the revenue of the city will receive from the long-term market rate tax abatement and will require an additional fee of 2.5. So this one, we're gonna give the Board of Ed 10% of annual service city share and additional 2.5% from the developer?
This is your ordinance.
So now that's why I try to make clear. Okay.
I didn't draft
No. Because this one is a little different than, so, yeah. I just wanted council present. Yes, it's a double, that's what I'm saying, it's wrong. So I like to delete it.
Delete what?
Ordinance president long-term tax oriented law and starting from the mayor, delete to and.
Councilman,
Yeah?
with all due respect,
Yeah.
when this came up in the spring, and when it went to the caucus at that time, there was a lot of questions about it.
Yes.
So you withdrew it, and you said you were gonna redraft it.
Yes.
And then recently, you asked, you wanted to resurrect this ordinance.
Yes.
All I had was the same ordinance you had introduced
Right.
last time, so that's what we put on the
Great.
agenda again. But if you want to change it in any way, feel free.
Thank you very much. That's what I like to. Good. So,
I don't know what you want
okay, so now please.
us to do.
Yes, just delete it.
What are you deleting?
So mayor started from the mayor till market rate tax abatement, and we just started from long-term market rate tax abatement will be required on additional fee of 2.5% annual gross revenue to be paid to the public school. So we gotta delete it from the mayor till all the way down till N, but we inserted long-term market rate tax abatement will be required on an additional fee of 2.5% annual gross revenue. That's what I like to clear, okay?
One more time.
One more time, all right.
I have no idea what you just said, so just mark it up any way you want.
Okay, good. You know what?
Can we just get a new copy?
Okay, I'm gonna make a new copy, so I'm gonna give it to you, okay?
You're gonna pull this?
No, don't say that. We're gonna put it in, but only thing is just we're gonna delete the word, and we're gonna.
Change the title.
Yes, thank you very much, Council President. Yeah, just the title.
And taking out anything inside of it that says 10% and 2.5.
Okay, that and got to go.
That and is a
So
problem.
it's just 10%.
No, it's
No.
not 10%.
It's just 2.5.
2.5
Annual
of
service
annual
charge.
service.
Thank you very much.
Annual gross revenue.
Right.
Okay.
The and is doubling it.
That's what I'm saying.
Whatever change you want, you just send it in an email to my secretary.
Beautiful. We'll do that tomorrow, okay?
And get it to the city.
Thank you very much. All right, simple.
Council President.
We don't double.
Yes, Councilman.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted this, former Councilman Ben Lopez and myself were doing paperwork, and it was supposed to have been submitted earlier for a resolution to get licensing for a 50-50 raffle that we're doing for Puerto Rico. So, Ben Lopez said that he'll probably bring it tomorrow. I thought it would be here, but it wasn't. I thought he was gonna bring it today, but he just called me and said that he'll be bringing it tomorrow, so just wanna make sure we could just add it at the agenda.
Yeah.
If everybody's okay with that.
For you, I say yes.
The fact sheet.
Oh my
Fact
gosh.
sheet need to be updated too.
Yes, we'll do that, okay?
Is there any way we know exactly where the money's going to? Is there any way we can put in here where that money should go to? Because I don't think we wanted to go just to the general budget of the Board of Ed. Where are we giving this money to? Is it for the infrastructure of the school? Things like that, I think we should know.
Yeah, but that's not. I think, well,
Because since it's a tax
you have
abatement,
unanswered questions here.
we
It's very
can-
possible that the state reduces the amount of aid in the amount of the money we give them. Therefore, their budget will remain the same. It's possible, right.
Right. So we're basically.
So we have to do that.
Right.
Let them Board of Ed to pass their budget first before our budget.
We can,
Well, we passed
It's not
our
an
budget
issue.
first.
It's an abatement issue, Councilman, so if you approve an abatement after, if this gets approved, the 10%, the 2.5 is already triggered.
Actually, I calculated already, but even though we give the 2.25% to Board of Ed, only the 2.5 come from the tax abatement, very minimum actually. Yeah. So it cannot be a big issue this moment, another 5-6
And you
years.
probably wouldn't see it until 2019. By the time the project
Yes.
is built.
So we're not gonna see that difference.
because the only reason I'm asking, because I remember when I talked to some groups, like parent groups, they were concerned about the money, and they were saying that, why can't some of the money go for the infrastructure? Because a lot of schools have problems with their infrastructure. No air conditioners, a lot of things, and they wanted to see if the money can go
Well, I think
specifically.
if
I'm just,
by doing something like this, you don't commit to giving it to the Board of Ed, maybe it's a pool of money that the city of Jersey City keeps, and we decide how you would give it to the Board of Ed in terms of infrastructure improvements, programs, after-school programs or something. Maybe word it something like that, so that you would control how it's spent, not the city board.
Okay.
But how is, because that's one of the open-ended statements of even the 10%, like, where did that money actually, go?
Yeah, that was never defined.
It was never defined, that's what I'm saying. You want to make sure you get more concrete with this. Go ahead.
Candace?
I guess and I don't know, Joanna, if you know the answer here, I'm just trying to understand why was it done with an executive an order, given under the Faulkner Act that the mayor can put an ordinance easily on the agenda. So is there, like, I'm trying to understand the difference between why was it put on as an executive order versus an ordinance, and I'm just trying to understand, like, structurally, like, what was going on there, because I know in the past when I've wanted to do ordinances, the response has been, no, it can only be done through executive order. So I'm just trying to understand.
Well, tax abatements really are a combination. They are applications and agreements that are presented by the administration to the council, but they require council approval.
Right.
So you both have a role in the actual terms of the tax abatement and whether or not one will be approved. So the mayor, by executive order, is saying he will not present a tax abatement to the city council unless the financial agreement contains a term that requires a payment to the Board of Ed. So he's committing himself across the board to doing that. The council, if you adopt this ordinance, are then saying, well, whatever the mayor presents, we agree that by ordinance, we will not approve a tax abatement unless it contains this.
So in theory, you could have a conflict.
Yeah, I mean, the arms of the different branches of government cooperate, and traditionally they have, and that's what makes it go. But the Faulkner Act, there is some overlap on some of these kinds of powers and authority. So that's why, there is a role for both.
Joanne, so
I think it's redundant. I mean, it's redundant given that you have an executive order already, but,
There's a difference, I'm sorry.
But the assumption is that the executive order, that an abatement application be presented to the council, would be a 10% annual service charge, right? And the policy suggesting that be kind of the floor in that regard. I don't think it suggests that that's the fixed number. It's like a recommended number, or to that extent.
10%.
10%.
The
Minimum.
statutory minimum.
Right. So hypothetically, if we come in, because we've come in with higher numbers, and we've been doing that more frequently with some of those projects in the Journal Square area, pushing it up to 11 and then 11.5%, and maybe even 12%. Oh, actually, I think we did the warehouse at 13%, right? So if we do that and we say it's 13%, does this then say we're going to lop on another 2.5% and make it 15.5%?
Well, it would, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you
We're
have
clarifying for the
one-
record,
you have
that's all.
one-
I got
You
it.
have one portion or one part of your service charge that's being isolated and dedicated for the Board of Education, and then you still have whatever you negotiate in terms of the service charge that the city would receive on top of that. That's what you're saying.
Councilman, remember the executive order was not an additional charge, it was 10% of our money.
This is additional.
This is an additional to the service charge.
No,
2.5%, right.
So let's say clear that. Mayor's executive order is that City of Jersey share 10% our annual service charge to Board of Ed. My proposal with Chris Gasson and the Councilman Richie Boggiano is that they pay whatever the contracts pay annual service charge go to City of Jersey, but developer pay additional 2.5% of their annual gross revenue. So city will much get the Board of Education, the school, Board of Ed get the much more dollars than what mayor's plan, number one. Number two, mayor share with our share with the Board of Ed, but this one developer pays, so we're able to protect taxpayer of Jersey City.
Well, then there is a conflict with the mayor's order
It
then.
sounded, the way it was presented sounded like they were consistent.
Yes.
No, so they're gonna, no, so now there's gonna be a conflict because unless the mayor's executive order then gets repealed.
Yeah. Correct.
I
They'll
understand.
get 2 bites of the apple if they both stay.
Jerry really should weigh in on that. I assume that they were consistent, but if there's a conflict.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Well, you just talked them up.
So what is the, executive order is executive order, but when you have an ordinance, may have to follow then whatever the city council passed.
No, but he's gotta repeal that because per the executive order, they can't put anything to us then that
Actually,
doesn't
this
match
city
that.
council, as I understand, can revoke the executive order by
Oh,
two-thirds.
we can revoke the
Yeah,
executive.
that's
You
all.
can
So,
revoke.
well, it's gotta be something, anyways, you gotta take care of it. You can't have a conflict where you can't give any abatement, that would make no sense.
The council can't revoke a mayor's executive order. That's right.
We have to live with that.
Even unanimously, no.
Why?
That's his power. That's how the mayor.
It's
Why the hell do we have a council?
You have executive authority, you have legislative authority.
So if we
You can
have,
express your
Disapproval of it, but,
Resolution urging him to rescind it.
Then what happened?
If you pass this,
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, I'm not entirely convinced that it's correct to legal form, because you're also trying to do a budget appropriation through an ordinance. You can't commit funds through the ordinance. You would have to do a budget appropriation every year anyway, and you would have to anticipate the revenue. So it creates some issues there, so I have to figure that piece out. But in addition, you would still have the executive order, and you would have this, so you would have a conflict of forms. Presumably, you would get a review and we get a determination as to which one actually is enforceable. But the bigger issue for me is really the budget appropriation issue. How do you actually effectuate this ordinance when you have to go through a budget appropriation to do it? Does that mean that you guys have somehow waived your budget authority to that? I don't know if you can do that. I have to look at all those conflicts of laws and see.
Dedication by rider issue, like
Right.
you have some authority in state law where you can take money in and dedicate it to a particular, cause, but the state gets to approve that beforehand by dedication by rider, and that's kind of sounds like what you're trying to do here, but I'm not even sure, so.
So now, okay, go.
Well, ultimately, the mayor's executive order will be null and void, because this one, if approved, or I guess you got away with like what would benefit,
It wouldn't nullify the executive
Nullify.
order, because here's how it works.
then no, it comes to the council.
Well, here's how it works.
Because we reject it, you bring it, and then
Right.
we couldn't accept it because our own law would say that we can't accept what he gives us.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So the
That's
way,
what-
You can't override the order, but what it all would come down to is the budget. And so what you would put the BA in the position of having to do is trying to comply with the mayor's executive order and then trying to comply with your ordinance. He would then have to put together a budget that somehow anticipates what that revenue is going to be, which we wouldn't really know. And then he would present that to you guys in the budget. Then at the time, if the council decides that they don't want to pursue that, they vote it down, then we have a conflict of law issue. If they decide they are going to approve it, then they move forward, and depending on what the mayor presents to you, he can either present it in line with his executive order or your ordinance. You would have to make that kind of determination. The bigger problem here is all of this sounds clever and cute, but the reality is you guys are looking at an issue that seems to make sense, but really are trying to work on it the wrong way. And if there's a budget, if there's a school board revenue issue, that should be dealt with through the school board budgeting process. But trying to tack on a rider of sorts, although I don't want to use that term of art because this is clearly not an appropriately executed rider, but by trying to tack on some sort of committed or guaranteed funding stream in this way, all it does is transfer, the obligation from one place to another. Because the way our budget works is, and this is kind of what we were talking about when we were talking about the revale issue, you have a full budget, and it has revenues and expenses. On the revenue side, that revenue is made up by tax revenue and other revenue. That other revenue block is the pilot revenue. So if you take, and that then makes up our budget. Our budget is what our budget is. So if you take from that revenue stream that's now meeting our obligations on the expense side and give it to the school board, that doesn't mean either you're gonna have to cut the expenses or you're gonna have to generate more revenue somewhere else. What that means is it's just a pass-through tax increase, no matter how you slice it.
But you're actually doing it either way. Either doing it with the executive order or
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely.
So it still presents those same challenges, even with the mayor executive.
Absolutely. But this is larger, yeah. Yeah. And then now there's a conflict in the amounts and
Because
so
now you're
forth.
saying we can't override Joanne said we couldn't override the mayor's executive order.
This
We can't.
wouldn't override the mayor's order, but it would create this situation where it would be left to the VA to have to figure out
But we would have to decide.
how to do it.
Yes, sir. On that.
We can't override his order.
The
So
Caucus-
his order would stand.
His order would still
Correct.
stand.
His order would still stand, that's what they keep saying.
So Caucus and
You have
Council
to tell them
explanation, I
that's
think
what she said.
the mislead that when I look at it, when we give to the 10% from our annual service charge to the Board of Ed, then we talk a budget issue. Totally is separate. Our bill is that developer pay additional 2.5% go to the Board of Ed of a school, so nothing to do with our budget. Yes.
What's the mechanism of getting the money to the school? I mean,
You're saying the developer should cut a check to the?
No.
He's saying we should charge 2.5% more on the service charge.
So keep in mind, so let's think about the budget process, So you have a section of the budget, it's all the beta properties and all the pilot payments that we get for the year.
It's not the old one, whatever is a new project.
Correct, prospectively. So prospectively, in the 19 budget, you're gonna have an abatement, assuming this gets approved, we'll have the normal payment plus 2.5% above that we'll collect. So what is the appropriation? How do we get the money from, when we collect it with our normal pilot payments, how do we get that money over to the Board of Ed?
Very simple, very simple.
It's not taxation, so it's not like they.
But that's the same question even with the executive order.
How did the money go?
Very,
And
very
that's
true.
what I asked.
Very true. What's the mechanism? So do we create a budget appropriation for Jersey City Board of Ed, and then they
And are they allowed to take that revenue in? Because
I
we're
don't
not
know.
allowed to take revenue in, we can't just take any revenue in.
Right. So I
The
mean,
same problems that the mayor's executive order.
Where's the money going?
it's the same problem.
Yes, but they go
Nobody
to the.
keep hearing.
No.
It's starting to snow.
You do, we do, we need clarity on that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
deal with that
or
order,
like
where's
maybe
the money going?
well, yeah, there's that part, but then there's the other one, which is like if we introduce it, then the other should get repealed before we would take the final vote on this, so that we don't have a conflict.
But let me ask this
I
one.
recommend we
I
proceed
mean,
here.
mayor make the executive order without consideration of all those facts then?
I think what the best way to proceed is to get a memo done and I would get it done by a specialist in this area, and that way we would be able to address all the different issues.
The way you may is should go board of ed. Probably Bob K or law department has some kind of idea how we're gonna be distribute the dollars budget-wise. Then we're gonna be same fashion do that the 2.5% annual gross revenue go to board of ed, which will follow the same way that he planned to. Simple. That's it. So you got no question then, right?
Well, we need, no, because well, I just want, well, I don't have a question on that part. Whatever, that part, I mean, I don't know that I understand it, but whatever we were gonna do for one, why can't we do it for the other?
Right.
Makes sense to me.
Yes.
Right.
But I do think that like then one should be repealed before the other one so that we don't have a conflict.
That's what she did.
So if we introduce this, then we need to repeal the other one.
Or at least ask the mayor to consider it.
Because
Ask
they
the
said
mayor
we can't
to,
override.
well, yeah, however, but like anyways, we shouldn't have a conflict
So
where
why
we
don't
can't
you
have
do
an
this
abatement.
one? Then let the mayor decide what he's gonna do. So he wanna keep his 10% annual service charge, or he wanna
What
go
did
with
you
a council person where we do the 2.25% of
extra.
gross, yes. Let them clear. Let them give us our ball to him, let them decide.
But ultimately, like, what?
But we're gonna pass this one.
We're gonna have to vote, and then we vote on it.
We pass this one,
Because we don't
and then
want
we let them give choice.
I'd like to get a legal
Yeah.
opinion analysis of this.
Which I will definitely begin the process of. We'll get an expert, so that
You
no
get
one
something
can
before
say,
second reading?
I can try. Yeah.
We need it before second reading.
I can try. I can't commit to 2 weeks, but I will definitely try.
We'll make his best efforts.
There are a couple things going on in between the next 2 weeks. I don't know if you're aware.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on. All right, we have second reading ordinances.
We're gonna go to resolutions, I think, Council
Yep,
President.
going straight to resolutions.
A, accepting grants and inserting them in our budget. B, authorizing the circulation of a preliminary official statement and final official statement in connection with the sale of the city's special emergency notes, Series 2017C, special emergency notes, Series 2017D, and bond anticipation notes, Series 2017E, and approving a continuing disclosure certificate with respect to said notes of the city and authorizing and or ratifying other actions for in connection therewith. That's for the records. C is a resolution of the City of Jersey City accepting the best practices inventory questionnaire.
I'm sorry, I had a question with B.
Yes.
Just a basic elementary question. Like, this is just a whole outline of all the bonds that were issued.
Right, a couple, about 3 meetings ago.
Sorry, what's the question, Councilman? Is it on that POS you're asking?
No, not on the best practices.
No, the POS? That's related to rolling over the notes from, Hurricane Sandy notes, the reval notes, the accumulated absences notes. They're 5-year notes. We have to roll them over every year. It's just routine business. But this document has to be issued to sent out, available to the investors if they want to bid on the notes.
All right, B is authorizing the VA to execute a discharge of mortgage at 155 Van Nostrand Avenue. E and F authorize the replacement of lost third parties tax sale certificates sold to J&H Funding Corp. G is a resolution authorizing the waiver of the 20-day waiting period prior to the effective date of City Ordinance 17-144. H is a resolution celebrating PACAL on the occasion of their 25th anniversary. I is a resolution of the Municipal Council honoring Jersey City author Patrice Hannon. J J is a resolution of the municipal council honoring Jersey City author Ron Semple. K is a resolution commending Simon Pierre Shorey for acts of heroism and bravery. L is a resolution recognizing Virginia Dot Peavy on the occasion of her 100th birthday.
Happy birthday.
M is a resolution in support of extending temporary protected status for all groups.
Anyone need any information about background on this? So the federal government will issue temporary protected status orders from the Department of State. There are countries, we did this in a resolution in support of Nepal. It's usually for war-torn countries or countries affected by natural disasters. In Nepal, they had that huge earthquake that devastated the country. It basically says by having temporary protected status, if you're an immigrant from that country or you're here from overseas, it doesn't force your return to kind of devastated countries in that sense. It was designated for a number of countries, lobbied and petitioned for the Philippines during Hurricane Haiyan, and just to show you how stringent they are, if you remember Hurricane Typhoon Haiyan, it devastated the Philippines, but they didn't grant temporary protected status for the Philippines at that time. Nepal got it, and it was devastating to their country. El Salvador, Haiti, others have received TPS, and they're now not going to continue, or threatening to not continue that program, and for these countries and people who live here from those countries. Yes. What's the matter with it? Okay. Thank you.
Go to P, a resolution. The council.
Did it already.
Oh, that's right. I didn't put a little dot next to it, sorry. We go all the way to U, and that's to apply for funds from the New Jersey Department of War and Public Safety, Division of Highway Safety, Drunk Driving Enforcement Fund. V is a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to accept funds from the New Jersey Department of Public Law and Public Safety, Division of Criminal Justice, on behalf of the Police Department to purchase police body armor replacement fund. W is a resolution rejecting all bids received by the city for a contract known as Hamilton Park Gazebo Repairs.
I have a question on this.
Shoot.
What was the computational error? Did they provide documentation on this?
So, the low bidder had an error in his Excel file, so his numbers were off, so he has to withdraw his bid.
Okay, and we saw unverified.
Our estimated budget is probably closer to 250. The VK, their documentation was not in order, so we had to reject it per the law. And Zenith, the 346, exceeded our budget. Therefore, we rejected it. We're going to go out to bid again, and hopefully the new numbers will come in closer to what we...
Do we know where his mistakes were and verified that they're accurate?
I don't know that answer.
Could I get documentation already?
So you want the ATEC proposal? Okay.
Yeah, if I could have all three of them, that would be
Okay.
great.
Okay. 10X is withdrawn.
Why we talked about with the tax assessor, Z1, 2, and 3 were spoken about. Z3 is an award of professional services agreement with DLB Associates in connection with the electrical design and construction administration services for the City Hall bathroom renovations, project number 2016-013. And you thought you'd live to see it, didn't you?
You know, I asked for this when I first became elected, and I won't be elected by the time this project gets done. I hope when there's a bathroom ribbon cutting, that y'all invite me to it.
There's definitely need to renovate.
I've been this close to just going in on the weekend with my own paint and doing it myself. It's just bad.
Z4, amending a professional services agreement with Cleary, Giacobbe, Alfieri, Jacobs LLC to represent former Mayor Jeremiah Healy and the City of Jersey City in the matter of Valerie Montone John Astriab versus the City of Jersey City et al. I'll put what your successor will be asking that question. Z5 is a resolution reauthorizing a professional services agreement with the law firm of Eric Bernstein and Associates LLC to represent the City of Jersey City in the matter of Donna Mauer versus the City of Jersey City. 10Z6 is a resolution in support of changing the day of the regular meeting scheduled for Wednesday, November 15th to Thursday, November 16th, 2017.
Folks okay with this?
I had a previously booked trip.
Me too. So we need a date.
I'm leaving on Thursday.
Where you go? Hawaii?
South Carolina.
Hey, he'll live in
What other folks?
I mean,
Michael, Rich,
I'm fine.
fine to change or not change?
It's just fine to change, yeah.
Thursday?
Jermaine, Danny.
Are y'all good with Thursdays?
Nothing saying.
That's the week of the conference.
Just the minutes are good.
It's the week of the league.
If you don't
It's
give
the
up
conference.
business for it,
So,
I'm not trying to. When is the league?
the same week, it starts
14th,
Tuesday.
15th, 16th.
She emailed us.
Wednesday to Thursday.
You're okay with that? Yeah, he and I aren't, so we were just making sure y'all had enough people. 'Cause
Right.
You have to count us out, so y'all have to have whoever y'all need without.
Frankly, you're not gonna be you're not gonna be here. Give me a proxy so I can excise you. Why are you laughing? Tell me, what I just said.
No.
Yeah, we know. So what are you gonna do with that date? We're gonna leave it, or? So we'll leave the resolution on?
Cool.
Yeah, great. Just gonna vote against it. Keep moving.
Yeah, that's right.
Z7.
I'm really complaining.
Demanding the release of any audio recording in connection to recent news reports about senior administration officials and energy consultant bid steering.
I have questions about this one. I guess, well, I hope it's appropriate to talk about it.
I mean, depending on your question, I'll let you know.
Okay, so like, if it's not appropriate, you'll tell me. The first one I know is fine. So the first one is, why wouldn't something like this just be available via Oprah?
Right.
So this is an interesting and complex situation, but it's arising out of an employment litigation. And we're in the process of dealing with it in that employment litigation. And we are trying to address it as best and appropriate to, to make sure that we're not in some way giving up or doing anything that would impact that litigation. That's the important thing for us right now.
Rules of litigation.
Yeah.
So let me just give you a hypothetical. If litigation was over, would this be available via Oprah?
When the litigation's over, it could become operable. There are other issues with the document that are currently being looked at. But if, for the most part, once it clears all the legal vetting, then it would, if it's cleared, then it would be made available through Oprah. But there's a series of legal things that we're going through with the document. The first thing, of course, is making sure that we're doing the right things for this employment litigation. Once that's through, then we got to look at the document itself and make sure it is what it says it is and all the rest of those things. But to answer your question, which everyone's asking, yes, it's wholly a legal issue that we're looking through and we're doing all the right things with.
Anyone else have questions?
To me, forgetting the employment issue thing in this particular case, I guess, and I don't want to get into that, but it just seems strange to me that we, as a council, would put resolutions around something that would be Oprahable.
Yeah.
So that just in and of itself is like, oh my God, there's like a bazillion Oprah requests a day. Are we gonna?
Selection time.
Yeah.
Oh, we brought that up. Yeah.
So.
Okay,
doesn't-
so.
I can tell you, I'll say this, I mean, certainly requesting the release of a tape and any information about it, but clearly, I mean, I will say clearly that this is politically motivated, and for the record, and that, I mean, the resolution could be as simple as requesting the audio tape for the date, blah, 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 regarding such and such, but instead it makes a lot of assumptions and declarations as part of its release.
This one, we look at the two issues involved. One, they have between the department issue, HEDC director and the former employee litigation issue. And this one, another issue is they try to senior administration officer and the energy consultant try to fix the bid. Totally two separate issues. And also, if it's it's not a personal, it's a private issue. It's a personnel issue about the city employee. Then this city council have a right to know what happened. We're not involved in the litigation part of it, but we want to go the other part, how they try to fix the bid, what kind of senior officer try to influence the bidding processing. That's our concern. We try to build transparency, accountability, and the city of Jersey. That's what we're looking for. Very simple. We don't the litigation issue. So it's not. It's not.
Of guilt.
No. If it's not the.
They already fixed
No,
the bid.
listen,
You said
listen.
it like in the past tense, like several times. It's.
Then if he's not, show to us. Show to us. That's
But
what
do we not have the right to just ask for that anyway? Like,
Sure.
I don't understand why it's on the council.
It shouldn't be, this is not us, this is not, really, this is not how this be handled. It won't change anything, it's just posturing. I have a fiduciary obligation to proceed appropriately when open requests come in. They come in through the clerk's office. The clerk's office does an initial assessment. If it rises to a legal issue, we're gonna do the initial legal review. We're gonna do that review. I have a fiduciary obligation to do that. I'm going to do that. So that's the process.
Isn't there an active Oprah request on this already?
There is, yes.
Can you tell us the status of that active Oprah request?
It's the exact same things that we're telling you is what we've said to those, in that Oprah response. This document is related to a litigation at the moment, and there are other investigations around it. We are not, at this time, able to really consider. You should know that Oprah is really for documents that we keep in the ordinary course. This is not something that would be kept in the ordinary course. It creates a lot of unusual research that has to be done around it, and vetting that has to be done around it. Everything, but, you know, what I do resent, Councilman, since we're talking about it, is the implication that something untoward is happening here, when we've gone through this many, many times together. And you know very well that we've all been very transparent. Everyone at this table has sought transparency. You've been in it with them. You know that they've held my feet to the fire if they felt like that was appropriate, other people's feet to the fire. And you know that in all instances, I always do the appropriate judicial review. I'm going to do that in every case. That's my job. If you would like. Yeah.
So I like this one. I oppose administration because they always I expect transparency and accountability. But when this issue come up the table, I was wondering if this case happened 2014 and now it's 2017, past 3 years, I didn't see any issue bring up those matters in this city council. Then I'd like to know why those issues not hide, I'm not going to use the word hide, why they delayed it till 3 years, and then mayor claimed that he reported to certain authority. I want to know which authority he reported. And the third thing is, I like to know, as a corporation counsel, probably he knows what's going on, and what kind of action you take it. Number 4, if this is senior officer involved in that case, then I like to know what kind of, what are they called? Any disciplinary action we see taken. So we don't know nothing about it.
Can I give a suggestion? Because I think that some of the things he's asking are fair. Why don't, instead of something like this though, why wouldn't we put something on requesting a closed session?
I don't know why.
Isn't that the more appropriate way to handle this?
I mean, no.
Okay, so I'll put on I'll sponsor a resolution
No.
for that.
So now, I mean, this is what is it called that here? You see now,
I hope your boat sinks.
if it's a personal issue, I agree with our council with candidates one as a closed door session. But the people involved in that issue is not a personal private issue, it's a personnel issue actually, city employee issue. And this is not shouldn't be closed session to discuss. We like to know.
That is definitely, we've been talking about this for 4 years, that we don't discuss personnel issues in public.
It's not, so
It's like a
this is not
one-on-one of
the
government.
personal, it's a private issue. It's a, of the job related issue.
I understand, I don't think.
4.5 years. Okay.
If, you know, obviously, Councilman, it's within your rights to proceed with presenting your ordinance. I think that a closed session is probably a more appropriate, productive way to go.
Okay, so I'll put a resolution for that.
Session for us, but it's all over Twitter, it's all over Instagram, it's all over Facebook, the whole city. I mean,
But if he, no, but my point is, but just to be clear, he said he's not gonna make it, it's under review. So this isn't gonna change anything, and if you really want the answers that you say that you want, then let's do a closed session so that you can ask them.
We'll leave it to.
All right.
Okay, then I'm gonna speak, because it's not my, only the sponsor to this resolution. I'm gonna speak with Councilman Chris Gesson, Councilman Rich Bojano, and we'll let you know then, okay? All right, is it fair?
Whatever, I'm happy to serve your pleasure.
All right.
The pleasure of Councilman Yen. Oh, that's on tape.
Resolution commemorating the life and times of Joan C. Robinson. Z9, resolution of the city of the municipal council honoring the AARP chapter 5102 on the 20th anniversary of its founding. You got 2 late items. 10Z10, a resolution authorizing Jersey City Community Solutions Program to make referrals of individuals to approved social service agencies, and Z11, commending Reverend Dr. Gabriel Cuervo for his service at the First Spanish Church of the Nazarene. When I said Cuervo, I almost said something else, but would someone like to offer a motion? We have a motion, what's time? It's 7:28. 7:28, we got everybody in the house.